Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's Jerica here. Do you ever have that feeling that you have a big goal, a dream you want to chase, but when it's time to actually do the work, you find yourself scrolling, tidying, or watching just one more episode? You know exactly what you need to do, but you just can't seem to make yourself do it. Another day slips by, and you feel stuck. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, then I am so incredibly excited to share this with you today. We are going to listen to a book that completely flips the idea of an easy life on its head. This is the full, unabridged audiobook of The Easy Life is a Lie. Do the Hard Things Now to Make Life Genuinely Effortless Later by Ali Erickson. This book argues that our constant search for what's easy is exactly what's making our lives feel so hard. It's a practical guide to tricking your brain, building clever systems, and making success the default outcome, not by punishing yourself, but by understanding how your mind is wired. I wanted to bring this to you as a full audiobook because its message is something I think we all need to hear. It's about choosing the upfront hard to create a future that is genuinely, lastingly easier. So, grab a coffee, put in your headphones, and let's get ready to learn how to become the architects of our own freedom. Let's begin.
The easy life is a lie. Do the hard things now to make life genuinely effortless later. A doctor's guide to building the systems, mindsets, and habits that create lasting freedom and fulfillment. By Ali Erickson. Book summary. Do you ever have that feeling you have a big goal to get fit, to start a business, to learn a new skill? You know exactly what you should do. But when the moment comes, you find yourself tidying your desk, scrolling through your phone, or watching just one more episode, and another day slips by. What if I told you this isn't a character flaw? What if your relentless pursuit of the easy option is precisely what's making your life feel so hard? As a doctor who slogged through years of brutal exams to unlock a life of freedom, and as a YouTuber who procrastinated for a year before building a multi-million-dollar business, I've discovered a counterintuitive truth. The path to a genuinely easier life is to do the hard things first. But this book isn't about hustle culture or punishing yourself. It's not about willpower or motivation. I'll show you why motivation is a myth that's holding you back. This is a doctor's guide to tricking your brain, rewiring your habits, and building clever systems that make success the default outcome. Inside, you will discover the toddler brain secret. Why your brain is biologically wired to seek candy-like distractions, and how to gently parent it into doing what's important without a tantrum. The 2-minute rule, a technique so simple it feels like cheating, designed to make starting any hard task feel ridiculously easy. How to become a scientist in your own life, a mindset shift that removes ego and turns failure into fun, valuable data. The art of productive procrastination. How to structure your to-do list to harness your urge to procrastinate and get your most important work done. Why you should ditch your goals and build a machine instead. The framework I used to grow my business and write this book, which makes progress automatic and effortless. This book is your permission slip to stop waiting to feel like it, and your playbook for becoming the architect of your own freedom. It will show you how to make your current hard your future easy, unlocking a life where the things you once dreamed of become your new normal. The easy life is waiting. You just have to take the hard path to get there. Let's begin.
Introduction. Choose your hard. It's 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I'm staring at a diagram of the brachial plexus. If you're not familiar, the brachial plexus is a ridiculously complex network of nerves running from the spine down into the arm. To a medical student, it looks like someone threw a bowl of spaghetti at a wall and, as a cruel joke, decided to name every single strand. And I have to know it, all of it, by Friday. My flat is silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator and the frantic scratching of my pen. My brain, which has apparently turned to lukewarm porridge, refuses to absorb another detail. I take a quick, ill-advised glance at my phone. On Instagram, a friend from university is on a beach in Thailand, holding a coconut. Another is at a concert, beer in hand, screaming along to some band I vaguely recognize. They look happy. They look free. And me? I'm here, voluntarily choosing to memorize the precise branching of the musculocutaneous nerve. At that moment, I felt like the biggest idiot on the planet. I was 21 years old, buried under a mountain of debt and textbooks, fueled by cheap instant coffee and the ambient anxiety that I was a complete and utter imposter. Any day now, I thought, a professor would pull me aside and say, "All right, Allie, the game's up. We know you're just pretending. Off you go." This was my life. And it was, in a word, hard. It was hard to sacrifice my social life, the hard of constant grinding study, the hard feeling like I was perpetually behind no matter how many hours I put in. It was hard of discipline, of delayed gratification, of forcing myself to do something incredibly difficult when my entire being was screaming at me to just crawl into bed and watch Friends reruns. And yet, I wouldn't trade that hardship for anything. Because here's the secret they don't tell you when you're staring at that bowl of nervous spaghetti at 2 a.m. That kind of hard work unlocks a different kind of life. A life that, in a weird way, becomes genuinely easier. The hard work of memorizing those drug interactions meant that years later, as a junior doctor on a chaotic night shift, I could confidently prescribe a life-saving medication without a moment's hesitation. That's a kind of professional ease that brings incredible peace of mind. The hard work of slogging through 6 years of medical school meant I had a level of financial stability that gave me options. It gave me the freedom to say, you know what, I'm going to try this weird YouTube thing on the side. That hard work bought me my freedom. It bought me the skills, the confidence, and the security to build the life I have now. A life where I get to write this book, run a business I love, and yes, occasionally go on holiday without having to memorize a single anatomical feature of a coconut. This brings us to the core message of this entire book, a principle that has fundamentally reshaped how I view work, success, and happiness. You don't get to choose whether or not you have a hard life. You only get to choose your type of hard. Think about it. Life presents us with two options, two paths of difficulty. Path one is the upfront hard. This is the path of discipline. It's hard to go to the gym when you'd rather stay on the sofa. It's hard to save 10% of your income when you'd rather buy that shiny new thing. It's hard to learn a new skill in the evenings when you're already tired from work. It's hard to have that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. This path involves friction, effort, and investment now. The payoff, the easy life, comes later. Path two is the downstream hard. This is the path of ease, the one that feels so good in the moment. It's hard to regret. It's hard to look in the mirror and not recognize the unhealthy person staring back. It's the hard part of living paycheck to paycheck, constantly stressed about bills. It's hard to feel stuck in a job you hate because you never invested in new skills. It's hard for a relationship to fall apart because the difficult conversations never happened. This path feels easy now. The consequences, the crushing weight of it all, come later. We are all, every single day, making a choice between these two paths. When you hit the snooze button, you're choosing a few minutes of immediate ease for the downstream hard of a frantic, rushed morning. When you choose the salad over the chips, and believe me, I know how hard that is, you're choosing a moment of upfront hard for the downstream ease of good health and energy. The problem is that our brains are wired for path two. We are dopamine-seeking creatures, biologically programmed to take the path of least resistance. We want an easy life now. But the great, tragic irony is that the relentless pursuit of easy is precisely what makes life hard. This book is your guide to fighting that impulse. It's a playbook for choosing the upfront hard, not with gritted teeth and a sense of martyrdom, but with strategy, intelligence, and, dare I say it, joy. We're going to dismantle the myth of motivation and show you how to build systems that make success automatic. We'll reframe your mindset so you can learn to love the process of effort and see failure as nothing more than helpful data. We'll provide you with a toolkit of practical, evidence-based strategies to make doing hard things feel as frictionless as possible. This isn't about becoming a soulless productivity robot who schedules every second of their day. It's about becoming the architect of your own freedom. It's about being intentional. It's about doing the work that matters so you can create a future where life feels less like a struggle and more like a playground. So, let's learn how to choose our hardest. Let's learn how to make it fun. Let's begin.
Part 1. The Great Deception. Why we're all addicted to the easy path. Chapter 1. The path of most resistance and why it's the quickest route to Easy Street. Let's be honest with each other for a moment. You are biologically wired to be lazy. There, I said it. It's not an insult, it's a scientific fact. For thousands of years, the survival of our species depended on energy conservation. Our ancestors didn't know when their next meal was coming, so when they had a chance to chill out behind a rock and digest a mammoth leg, they took it. The caveman who spent his afternoons doing burpees for fun probably got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. The lazy one survived. That caveman's brain is now sitting in your head, and it is screaming at you every single day to take the easy option, to order the pizza instead of cooking the vegetables, to scroll through TikTok instead of opening that spreadsheet, to hit continue watching on Netflix even though you know you should be studying. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility, because every one of those choices puts you on a path. In my mind, I picture it as a fork in the road we face dozens of times a day. Let's call the two options Path A and Path B. Path A is the slippery slope of easy. It's paved with comfort, lit by the warm, flickering glow of a screen. It smells like pepperoni pizza and freshly opened crisps. This path is incredibly tempting because it offers an immediate reward. The pleasure is now. The effort is zero. Choosing Path A feels like a win. You wanted comfort, and you got it. Instantly. I walked this path all the time. During my A-levels, my revision plan often involved a meticulous, color-coded schedule that looked incredibly productive. But when it came time to actually do the work, Path A would call to me. It sounded like the theme tune to The Office or the satisfying click of a new game loading on my computer. Just one episode, I'd tell myself. Just one level. It was easy. It was fun. The problem is that the bill for Path A always comes due. It arrives in the form of that lurching 3 a.m. panic the night before an exam. It's the creeping dread of knowing you aren't prepared for that important meeting. It's the slow, sinking feeling that another year has gone by and you're in the exact same spot. The easy path, chosen consistently, leads directly to a hard life. Path B is the path of most resistance. This path looks terrible. It's a steep, rocky, uphill climb. It's cold and windy. There are no snack bars. To even take the first step onto this path requires effort. It's hard to put on your running shoes when your sofa is whispering sweet nothings to you. It's hard to open a blank document to start that essay. It's hard to sit in silence with your own thoughts for 5 minutes. Your brain, that ancient survival machine, hates Path B. It sees it as a pointless waste of precious energy. It will throw a tantrum. It will be a bargain. It will try every trick in the book to steer you back towards the comfort of Path A. The magic of Path B is that the payoff, while delayed, is monumental. The hard work of a 30-minute run pays you back with hours of increased energy and a sense of accomplishment. The hard work of studying for that exam pays you back with a qualification that opens doors for the rest of your life. The hard work of building a side hustle in the evenings pays you back with financial freedom. The path that is hard now leads, without fail, to an easier life later. This isn't just a nice metaphor. It's a concept that experienced adventurers and mountaineers have a name for: Type 2 fun.
Type 1 fun is the simple stuff. Eating ice cream, watching a comedy, lying on a sunny beach. It's fun while it's happening. It's path A. It's enjoyable, but it's fleeting and leaves no lasting benefit. Type 2 fun is different. Type 2 fun is miserable while you're doing it, but glorious in retrospect. It's hiking up a mountain in the pouring rain, every muscle aching, wondering why you ever thought this was a good idea. It's grueling. It's awful. But then you get to the top. You see the view. And when you're back at the pub later, warming your feet by the fire, you think, that was amazing. I'm so glad I did that. That feeling, that retrospective glory, is what we're aiming for. The entire project of doing hard things to build an easy life is an exercise in engineering more Type 2 fun. My journey into medicine was pure, unadulterated Type 2 fun. The process itself was often brutal. I can't tell you the number of parties I missed, the number of times I felt like a complete moron in front of a consultant, the sheer volume of information I had to force into my sleep-deprived brain. It was not fun at the moment, but the feeling of walking across that graduation stage, the feeling of helping my first patient, the freedom that career gave me, that was the glorious fireside pint at the end of the miserable hike. It was worth it 1,000 times over. So how do we start choosing this path more often? First, we learn to recognize it. The next time you face a choice, pay attention to the flinch, that little moment of internal resistance, that voice in your head that says, ugh, no, not that. That's the signpost for path B. That flinch is the compass pointing you towards Type 2 fun. Lean into it. Second, understand that the path of most resistance is actually a shortcut. It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? The steep, rocky, uphill climb looks like the long way around. But path A, the easy path, isn't a path forward at all. It's a loop. It keeps you circling back to the same place of stress and regret. Path B is the only one that actually leads to a new destination. It's the quickest route to the life you want because it's the only one that makes real progress. We're wired to be lazy, yes, but we are also blessed with a prefrontal cortex that allows us to override that wiring. We can think about the future. We can make a strategic choice. We can choose the rewarding discomfort of Type 2 fun over the hollow comfort of Path A. The choice isn't about suffering for the sake of it. It's about being a strategist in your own life. It's about knowing that every time you choose the momentary, upfront hard, you are buying yourself a slice of genuine, long-lasting easy. And in the next chapter, we're going to look at the biggest obstacle that stands in our way, the toddler in our brain that's screaming for candy.
Chapter 2. Your brain is a toddler who wants candy, and we keep giving it candy. You can't beat your brain's primal wiring with willpower alone. You need to trick it. Here's how. Imagine you're trying to get some important work done. You're at your desk, you've got your coffee, you've opened the right document. You are a responsible, capable adult. But somewhere deep inside your skull, a toddler has just woken up from its nap, and it is not happy. This toddler doesn't care about your deadlines, your career aspirations, or your desire for self-improvement. It has one and only one objective. It wants a lollipop, right now. The toddler screams. It bangs its fists. It throws a fit on the floor of your prefrontal cortex. I'm bored. This is hard. I want to watch the cat video. I want to see what my friends are doing. I want a lollipop. This, in a nutshell, is what happens in your brain every time you try to do something difficult. That screaming toddler is your limbic system, a primitive part of your brain that includes the amygdala. It's your brain's emotion and threat detection center. It evolved to make split-second decisions for survival. Is that a tiger? Run. Is that a berry? Eat. It operates on one simple principle. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. And what's the biggest source of pleasure for the toddler brain? A magical little chemical you've probably heard of, dopamine. We often call dopamine the pleasure molecule, but that's a bit misleading. It's more accurately the motivation molecule. It's the chemical of wanting, of anticipation. It's the kick your brain gets when it expects a reward. The toddler doesn't just enjoy eating the lollipop.
It enjoys the promise of the lollipop. And here's the problem. We live in a world that has become an infinite, all-you-can-eat candy store for our inner toddler. Your phone is a candy store. Every notification, every new post, every like is a tiny, delicious, dopamine-laced lollipop. Junk food is a candy store. It's engineered to give you the biggest possible hit of sugar, salt, and fat, a trifecta of pleasure for our primitive brain. Netflix is a candy store. The moment one episode ends, it dangles the next one in front of you. Just one more lollipop, it whispers. When you try to sit down and do something hard, like study or exercise or write a report, you are essentially telling the toddler, no, you can't have any of that delicious candy right now. Instead, I want you to sit quietly and eat this plate of steamed broccoli. It's good for you, and you'll be thankful in 6 months. You can imagine how well that goes over. The toddler flips the table. It triggers what psychologists call an amygdala hijack. The emotional, impulsive part of your brain overpowers the rational, long-term planning part, your prefrontal cortex. And in that moment, you will do almost anything to make the screaming stop. So, you give in. You give the toddler its candy. You pick up your phone, you open YouTube, you grab the biscuits. The screaming stops. Ah, relief. But you've just reinforced the behavior. You've taught the toddler that screaming is an effective strategy for getting what it wants. And tomorrow, it will scream even louder. For years, my approach to this was to try and reason with the toddler. I would use willpower. No, I'd tell it sternly, we have to study. This is important. This is the equivalent of trying to have a logical debate with a 3-year-old in the middle of a tantrum. It's exhausting, it's infuriating, and you will almost always lose. Willpower is a finite resource. The toddler's desire for candy is infinite. So, what's the solution? You stop trying to fight the toddler and you start parenting it. A good parent doesn't win through brute force. A good parent is clever. A good parent structures the environment to make good behavior easy and bad behavior hard. And that is exactly what we need to do with our brains. Here are the 2 fundamental strategies of good brain parenting. 1. Hide the candy. Create friction for bad habits. You wouldn't leave a giant bowl of sweets on the coffee table and then yell at your child for eating them. That's just bad parenting. The smart move is to not have them in the house in the first place. You need to make it harder for your toddler brain to get its instant gratification fix. Your phone is a candy store. Every notification, every new post, every like is a tiny, delicious dopamine-laced lollipop. Junk food is a candy store. It's engineered to give you the biggest possible hit of sugar, salt, and fat, a trifecta of pleasure for our primitive brain. Distracting websites, use browser extensions like Freedom or BlockSite to actively block the websites that your toddler screams for during work hours. You are the parent. You get to set the rules. 2. Put the healthy snacks at eye level. Reduce friction for good habits. At the same time, you need to make the broccoli look as appealing as possible. Make the hard, important things as easy as possible to start. Want to go for a run in the morning? Lay out your running shoes, shorts, and shirt right beside your bed. When you wake up, you'll practically trip over them. The path of least resistance becomes putting them on. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow. When you get into bed, the easiest thing to do is pick it up instead of reaching for your phone. Want to learn guitar? Don't keep it in its case in the closet. Leave it on a stand in your living room. Every time you walk by, you'll be reminded, and the effort to pick it up is virtually zero. Stop blaming yourself for having a toddler brain. We all have one. And stop trying to win a battle of willpower you are neurologically destined to lose. Instead, start being a clever parent. Be the architect of your environment. Make good choices and easy choices. Because when you stop giving the toddler candy all the time, it slowly learns to appreciate the broccoli. And that's when you really start to make progress.
Chapter 3. The Myth of Motivation.
Motivation is a fair-weather friend. Discipline is the all-weather companion that will actually get you where you want to go. For the better part of a year, I was going to start a YouTube channel. I had the idea firmly lodged in my brain while I was still at medical school. I was watching people like Casey Neistat and MKBHD, and I thought, I could do that. I could talk about studying, productivity, tech. It would be fun. And so began the great procrastination of 2016. My preparation looked incredibly busy. I spent weeks, no, months researching. I watched hundreds of videos on the best camera for beginners. I read articles comparing different editing software. I brainstormed lists of perfect video ideas, filling notebooks with elaborate plans for series I would one day launch. I told my friends about it. I told my brother, Timir, about it. I was, in my head, a YouTuber. I just hadn't made any videos yet. What was I waiting for? I was waiting to feel motivated. I was waiting for that magical moment when the clouds would part, a ray of divine inspiration would strike my desk, and I would suddenly be filled with an unstoppable urge to create. I needed to feel ready. I needed to feel like I knew exactly what I was doing. I needed to feel inspired. That feeling never came. The magical ray of inspiration never showed up. Instead, I just felt a growing sense of frustration with myself. The gap between the person I wanted to be, a cool YouTuber, and what I was actually doing, endlessly watching videos about YouTubers, was becoming a chasm of anxiety. Finally, one day, I just got sick of my own excuses. I propped my iPhone up on a stack of books, pointed it at my face, and talked. The lighting was awful. The audio was echoey. I was visibly awkward, rambling my way through a video about how I studied for my final exams. It was cringy. It was imperfect. It was, by all objective standards, a pretty bad video. But I did it. I edited it badly, and with a deep breath and a powerful sense of dread, I hit upload. And then something strange happened. I didn't get 1 million views, I didn't get a flood of adoring comments, but I got a tiny spark. It was the feeling of, okay, that's one done. Then someone, probably my mom, left a nice comment. The spark flickered a little brighter. 1 subscriber became 2, then 10. And with each tiny piece of feedback, each minuscule sign of progress, the spark grew. That's when I discovered the truth. The secret that productivity gurus don't often tell you. Motivation is not the cause of action. It is the result of it. We have the equation completely backwards. We think we need to feel motivated before we can act. Motivation to action equals success. But the reality is that the formula works in reverse. Action to small win to motivation, to more action, to more wins, to more motivation. It's a feedback loop. Action creates momentum. And momentum, that glorious feeling of forward motion, is what we perceive as motivation. Waiting for motivation to strike is like standing in front of an unlit fireplace and saying, "As soon as you give me some heat, I'll put some logs on you." It makes no sense. You have to do the hard work first. You have to gather the wood and strike the match. The action is what creates the heat. So if we can't rely on motivation, what do we rely on? The word we often use is discipline, but that sounds so joyless and military-esque. It conjures images of 5 a.m. cold showers and punishing routines. I prefer to think of it in a much friendlier, more practical way. Systems. A system is just a pre-made decision that you stick to regardless of how you feel. A system bypasses the need for motivation because the choice has already been made. My system for YouTube became brutally simple. Every Sunday, I will film a video. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m., I will upload it. That was it. I didn't ask myself on Sunday morning, do I feel inspired today? I didn't check in with my motivation levels.
It was Sunday, so I filmed a video. It was what I did. It was my system. Some weeks the video was brilliant. Some weeks it was rubbish. But the system ensured that I was always in motion. And that constant motion was what generated the ideas, the progress, and eventually the motivation that kept me going for years. You can apply this to anything. Don't rely on motivation to go to the gym. Your system is, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I put on my workout clothes as soon as I get home from work. You haven't even committed to the workout yet, just to the first tiny step. The decision is made for you. Don't wait for inspiration to write. Your system is, every morning, the first thing I do is open my laptop and write one paragraph. Not a chapter, not 1,000 words, just one paragraph. The system makes starting effortless. Don't depend on motivation to save money. Your system is an automatic bank transfer of 10% of your salary into a savings account the day you get paid. It happens without you even thinking about it. Stop waiting to be in the mood. You are never going to feel like doing the hard things, at least not at the beginning. Your inner toddler will always want the candy. Your job is to create a system that makes the action so small, so simple, so pre-decided that even the toddler can't be bothered to throw a tantrum about it. Once you take that first tiny action, the feedback loop kicks in. The fire is lit, and suddenly you'll find that a most magical and reliable friend has appeared to keep it going. Motivation. It just needed you to go first.
Part 2. The Mindset Makeover. Learning to love the effort. Chapter 4. How to fall in love with the grind without becoming a soulless hustle bro. What if the hard work was the whole point? And what if it could actually be fun? Let's talk about the hustle bro. You know the guy. His Instagram is a shrine to 4 a.m. alarms, ice baths, and inspirational quotes in a bold sans serif font overlaid on a picture of a lion. He's not just working, he's crushing it. He's not just busy, he's biohacked for optimal performance. He talks a lot about the grind, a term he uses with a strange mix of reverence and complaint, as if his suffering is a badge of honor. For a long time, I thought this was the only way to embrace hard work. I thought that to be successful, you had to adopt this persona of performative suffering. You had to learn to love the pain, to post about your exhaustion, to act as if sleep was a weakness. The problem is, it's all a lie. And frankly, it sounds absolutely miserable. The goal isn't to suffer. The goal is to build a life that feels good. The secret to doing hard things consistently isn't to force yourself into a state of joyless, robotic discipline. The secret is to reframe the effort itself. It's to change the game so that the grind stops feeling like a grind and starts feeling like play. I learned this lesson the hard way when I first tried to learn to code. I had this grand vision. I would become a master programmer, build my own apps, and create a beautiful website from scratch. I bought a course on Python, sat down at my desk, and was immediately, profoundly, hopelessly lost. Every single line of code was a struggle. Every error message felt like a personal insult. My brain, which was used to the relatively straightforward memorization of medicine, could not handle the abstract logic. After about an hour of this torture, I'd slam my laptop shut in a huff, feeling like a complete failure. My mindset was the problem. I believed that I should be good at this. My ego was deeply invested in the outcome. Every mistake was evidence that I was an idiot, that I wasn't a natural, and that I should just give up. The hard work felt awful because my self-worth was on the line with every keystroke. Then, out of sheer frustration, I decided to try something different. I changed the goal. The goal was no longer become a master programmer. The new goal was see if I can make the computer print Ollie is cool in pink.
It was a stupid, pointless, and ridiculously low-stakes objective. And it changed everything. Suddenly, it wasn't a test anymore. It was a puzzle. It was an experiment. The pressure vanished. When I inevitably got an error message, I didn't feel like a failure. I just felt curious. That didn't work. I wonder why. What if I try this instead? This is the mindset shift that changes everything. It's what I call scientist mode. A scientist running an experiment doesn't have a personal, emotional meltdown when their hypothesis turns out to be wrong. They don't throw their beakers against the wall and scream, "I'm a terrible scientist." They simply say, "Interesting. The data did not support the hypothesis. What did we learn? What can we try next?" When you adopt scientist mode, you detach your ego from the outcome. Your efforts are no longer a reflection of your innate talent or worth. They are simply experiments. And in an experiment, there is no such thing as failure. There is only data. This is an incredibly liberating idea. Trying to get better at tennis? Don't go to the court thinking, "I must win this match or I'm a loser." Go in scientist mode. Hypothesis. I believe my backhand is weak because my footwork is slow. Experiment. For the next 30 minutes, I will ignore the score and focus exclusively on getting my feet in position before I swing. The outcome of the match is irrelevant. The goal is to collect data on your footwork. Starting a new business? Don't think, "This has to be $1 million idea or I'm a failure." Think like a scientist. Hypothesis. I believe people will pay for custom-made pet portraits. Experiment. I will create a simple landing page and spend £50 on Instagram ads to see if anyone clicks buy now. If no one buys, you haven't failed. You've just gathered some very valuable data that your hypothesis was incorrect. Time for a new hypothesis. Learning to cook? Don't let a burnt lasagna send you into a spiral of despair. You're not a bad cook. You're a scientist who just collected data on what happens when you set the oven temperature too high. When you operate in scientist mode, the grind is transformed. It becomes a process of discovery, curiosity, and play. The hard work is no longer a painful means to an end. It becomes the interesting part. You start to fall in love with the process of incremental improvement, of tweaking variables and seeing what happens. You get to be the curious explorer instead of the stressed-out perfectionist. You stop judging yourself and start observing your results. And this is how you learn to love the effort. Not because you're a masochistic hustle bro, but because you've turned your work into the most interesting game in the world. So the next time you face a difficult task, put on your metaphorical lab coat, state your hypothesis, run your experiment. And remember, whatever happens, it's not failure. It's just data.
Chapter 5. The Glorious Joy of Screwing Up. Perfectionism is just procrastination in a fancy suit. Let's get messy. We are taught from our first day of school that failure is bad. A red X on a maths test is a mark of shame. Getting picked last for the team is a social death sentence. We learn to associate screwing up with a hot flush of embarrassment and a sinking feeling in our stomachs. So, naturally, we spend the rest of our lives trying to avoid it. The primary way we avoid failure is through perfectionism. We tell ourselves we can't start that business until the business plan is flawless. We can't publish that blog post until every sentence is a literary masterpiece. We can't ask that person on a date until we figured out the perfect, witty, non-creepy opening line. But this isn't a quest for quality. It's a defense mechanism. We're not trying to make it perfect. We're just terrified of it being bad. And so, paralyzed by fear, we do nothing. The business never launches. The blog post never gets written. And we end up staying home alone again.
To break this cycle, we need to completely rewire our relationship with failure. We need to stop seeing it as an indictment of our character and start seeing it for what it is, the single most valuable learning tool we have. To show you what I mean, I'd like to share a few select entries from my own, very long and distinguished failure resume. Exhibit A, the YouTube masterpiece that flopped. Early in my YouTube journey, I decided to make the ultimate video about how to use a to-do list app, Todoist. I spent a whole weekend on it. I had screen recordings, multiple camera angles, fancy graphics, the works. This, I thought, was it. This was the video that would go viral. I uploaded it, sat back, and waited for the views to roll in. And crickets. The view count is flatlined. It was one of the worst performing videos I had ever made. My masterpiece was a dud. The old me would have been devastated. The old me would have seen it as proof that I was a terrible YouTuber. But the new me, the one learning to embrace screwing up, just laughed. It was a glorious failure, a fun experiment that yielded interesting data. Namely, that nobody, absolutely nobody, wanted to watch an overproduced 20-minute video about a to-do list app. Lesson learned. Exhibit B, the world-changing business idea. Before my current company, I had another, truly revolutionary business idea. It was called Bimbles. The concept was simple. A service where you could send us your study notes and we would turn them into beautiful, professionally printed revision flashcards and ship them to you. It was genius. It would save students time. It would change the world of studying. I spent months building a website. I partnered with a printing company. I prepared for launch day, convinced I was about to become the Mark Zuckerberg of revision aids. I launched. Total orders in the first month, 0. A perfect, beautiful, round 0. Bimbles was an unmitigated commercial flop. It was also one of the best educational experiences of my life. I learned about website design, e-commerce, marketing, and most importantly, I learned that a business idea isn't a good idea until someone is actually willing to pay for it. The tuition for that MBA level lesson, a few £100 and a bruised ego. An absolute bargain. The point of sharing this isn't just to have a laugh at my expense, though please, feel free. It's to illustrate the reframe. Failure is not an expense, it's a tuition payment for your education. Every time you screw up, you are paying to learn a lesson you couldn't have learned any other way. A failed project is an expensive but effective seminar on project management. A bad sales call is a masterclass in communication. A burnt dinner is your first lesson in becoming a better cook. But just paying the tuition isn't enough. You have to actually attend the class. You have to extract the lesson. To do this, you need a system. You need to perform a failure post-mortem. This is less morbid than it sounds. It's a simple, emotion-free analysis of what happened, inspired by how doctors and engineers analyze mistakes to prevent them from happening again. The next time an experiment of yours goes wrong, grab a notebook and answer these 4 questions. What was the intended outcome? For example, I wanted to get 500 views on my new video. What actually happened? Be objective. The video got 27 views and my aunt said the lighting was weird. What went well? This is crucial. Don't just focus on the negative. I successfully uploaded it. I learned how to add a title card. I stuck to my schedule. What will I do differently next time? This is where the learning happens. Next time, I will film in the daytime for better light and choose a more interesting topic. This simple exercise moves you from the emotional, ego-bruising space of "I'm a failure" to the logical, constructive space of the scientist. The experiment failed, and here's the data it tells me for the next one. The goal is not to fail. The goal is to build a life where you are trying things that are so interesting, so ambitious, so far beyond your current comfort zone that failure is an occasional, inevitable, and even welcome byproduct. So give yourself permission to be bad at something new. Give yourself permission to be cringe. Give yourself permission to screw up. Stop trying to polish your first draft into a perfect diamond. Perfectionism is a cage.
It's time to get messy, collect some data, and start paying for the most valuable education you'll ever receive.
Chapter 6. The Identity Shift. Stop doing and start being. Stop trying to motivate yourself to go to the gym. Start building the identity of a person who never misses a workout. For the first couple of years of my YouTube journey, if someone at a party asked me what I did, I'd give them a rambling, apologetic answer. Well, I'm a junior doctor, I'd start, but I also, sort of, on the side, make these little videos for fun, about studying and stuff. It's just a hobby, really. The subtext was clear. Please don't judge me. I'm not a real YouTuber. I'm just a doctor playing around with a camera. I was making videos every week. I was spending hours scripting, filming, and editing. I was investing money in better equipment. In every practical sense, I was doing the work of a YouTuber. But in my head, I wasn't one. I was an imposter. And I felt like a fraud. The problem with this mindset is that it gives you an easy out. When I was tired after a long hospital shift, the voice in my head would say, "Don't worry about filming this weekend. You're a doctor, after all. YouTube is just a hobby. It doesn't really matter." My identity as a doctor was strong, while my identity as a YouTuber was weak and disposable. Then one day, I decided to run an experiment. The next time someone asked, I would just say it. I braced myself, and at a friend's gathering, when the inevitable question came, I took a breath and said, "I'm a doctor, and I'm a YouTuber." It felt completely ridiculous. I had maybe 10,000 subscribers at the time. I was making approximately £0 from my videos. Calling myself a YouTuber felt like a 5-year-old putting on his dad's suit and calling himself a businessman. But in that moment, something shifted. By saying it out loud, I had put on the uniform. And once you put on the uniform, you start acting the part. The next time I was tired after a shift, the internal conversation changed. The voice in my head now said, "You have to film this weekend. It's what YouTubers do. YouTubers have a schedule. They don't miss uploads." My new identity demanded a new standard of behavior. It started to guide my decisions. What kind of gear would a real YouTuber buy? How would a real YouTuber analyze their video statistics? My actions started to align with my new identity, not the other way around. And this, as I later learned from James Clear's phenomenal book, Atomic Habits, is the most powerful secret to lasting behavior change. Clear explains that there are 3 layers to behavior change. Outcomes. This is about what you get. For example, losing 10 pounds, publishing a book, running a marathon. Processes. This is about what you do. For example, going to the gym, writing every day, following a training plan. Identity. This is about what you believe. For example, I am a healthy person. I am a writer. I am a runner. Most of us try to build habits from the outside in. We start with the outcome we want. I want to lose 10 pounds, and then figure out the process. I guess I'll start dieting. This approach is fragile because it's tied to a temporary goal. What happens when you lose the 10 pounds? The motivation vanishes and you slowly revert to your old ways because you never changed the deepest layer, your identity. You still see yourself as someone who doesn't really enjoy exercise. You were just on a diet. The truly effective approach is to work from the inside out. You start with your identity. The goal is not to write a book, it's to become a writer. The goal is not to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. The goal is not to build a business, it's to become an entrepreneur. When you adopt a new identity, the focus shifts from a one-off achievement to a way of being. A writer writes. That's who they are. A runner runs. A healthy person makes healthy choices. The behavior isn't a chore you have to motivate yourself to do. It's simply an expression of who you are. So how do you do this? How do you build a new identity? It's not about snapping your fingers and suddenly believing something new. It's about proving it to yourself, one small action at a time.
James Clear calls this casting votes for your new identity. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Choosing to take the stairs instead of the lift is a vote for I am a fit person. Writing one paragraph when you don't feel like it is a vote for I am a writer. Choosing to drink water instead of a sugary drink is a vote for I am a healthy person. Putting 1% of your income into an investment account is a vote for I am an investor. These votes don't need to be huge. A 10-minute walk is still a vote. Writing a single sentence is still a vote. The goal isn't to be perfect overnight. The goal is simply to have the majority of votes cast in favor of your desired identity. Each tiny win reinforces your self-belief. Hey, look at me. I just did what a healthy person would do. Maybe I really am a healthy person. So let's make this practical. Step 1. Decide who you want to be. Get specific. Don't just say, I want to be healthy. Define the identity. I am the type of person who moves my body every day and enjoys eating nutritious food. Step 2. Start casting tiny votes. What's the smallest possible action that would cast a vote for this identity? You don't have to start with a 90-minute gym session. Can you do 5 push-ups right now? That's a vote. Can you add a side salad to your lunch today? That's a vote. This isn't fake it till you make it. It's be it till you become it. You are actively building your new identity from the ground up with the bricks of your daily actions. Soon, you won't have to motivate yourself to do the hard things. You will simply do them because it's who you are.
Chapter 7. The Art of the Productive Start. The hardest part of any hard thing is starting. Let's make starting so easy, it's impossible not to do it. Picture the scene. It's a month before my final medical school exams. I'm in my room, surrounded by teetering stacks of textbooks that all seem to be judging me. My to-do list for the day contains one simple, terrifying item: revise cardiology. Just reading the words makes my stomach clench. Revise cardiology isn't a task. It's a mountaineering expedition. It means memorizing hundreds of drugs, understanding complex ECG patterns, and recalling the intricate physiology of the heart. It's a colossal, amorphous blob of effort, and I have no idea where to even begin. So, naturally, I don't. Instead, I suddenly become incredibly productive at other things. My desk, I decide, desperately needs reorganizing. I spend 20 minutes arranging my pens by color. Then I conclude that I can't possibly work without a perfectly brewed cup of tea. That's another 10 minutes. Then I check my email. Then I look up a review for a new mouse I'm thinking of buying. 2 hours later, I've achieved a state of pristine organization, I'm nicely hydrated, and I'm very well informed about the latest Logitech mouse. The cardiology textbook, however, remains closed. It looms on my desk like a monument to my own procrastination. The activation energy required to start revise cardiology was just too high. The initial push felt like trying to move a mountain. And so my brain, that wonderful toddler from Chapter 2, did what it does best. It threw a tantrum and demanded the candy of easy, distracting tasks. This cycle of paralysis and procrastination was one of my biggest struggles until I stumbled upon a rule so simple, so stupidly obvious, that I almost dismissed it. It's a technique often called the 2-minute rule, popularized by James Clear and adapted from David Allen's productivity philosophy. And it completely changed the way I approach hard things. The rule is this: when you start a new habit or tackle a big task, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. That's it. That's the whole rule. The goal is not to achieve the final outcome. The goal is to make starting so absurdly easy that you can't say no. You shrink the task down to its smallest possible gateway action. So my goal of revise cardiology was scrapped. It was too big, too scary. My new goal, my 2-minute version, became open my cardiology textbook and read the first sentence.
That's a goal I can do. Even with my brain screaming for distractions, I can't argue with that. It's pathetic. It's almost laughable, but it's impossible not to do. So I did it. I'd open the book, read one sentence, and then mentally tick the box. Job done. I had successfully started. But here's where the magic happens. Once you've opened the book and read one sentence, the activation energy for the next step is basically zero. Well, I might as well read the rest of the paragraph. And once I've read the paragraph, my brain is now engaged. I might as well finish the page. And once I finish the page, I'm actually in the flow of it. Before I know it, an hour has passed. I haven't just started, I'm studying. The hard part was never the work itself. The hard part was the friction of getting started. The 2-minute rule is a hack that eliminates that friction. Think of it like this. Newton's first law of motion states that an object at rest stays at rest. This is the law of procrastination. An object in motion stays in motion. This is the law of momentum. The 2-minute rule is the tiny, almost effortless nudge that gets the object out of its resting state and into motion. Here's how to apply this to pretty much any hard thing you're avoiding. Write my book becomes open the document and write one sentence. Go for a 5K run becomes put on my running clothes and shoes. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes roll out my yoga mat. Clean the entire kitchen becomes put one dish in the dishwasher. Meditate for 20 minutes becomes sit on the cushion and take 3 deep breaths. Learn to code becomes open the coding app and do one lesson. Notice a pattern. The 2-minute rule is not about the outcome. It's about mastering the art of showing up. It's about building the identity we talked about in the last chapter. You're not trying to become a runner overnight. You're just casting a vote for, I am the type of person who puts on their running shoes. This technique is your secret weapon against the toddler brain. It's too small and quick for the toddler to even notice. By the time it realizes you've tricked it into doing the broccoli-eating hard work, you're already in a state of flow, and the momentum is carrying you forward. So, the next time you see a daunting task on your to-do list, don't try to tackle the whole mountain. Just focus on taking the first tiny step. Find the 2-minute version. Make it so easy to start that it feels ridiculous not to. Because starting is not just the first step, it's the hardest step. And you've just made it effortless.
Chapter 8. Ditch the goal, build the machine. Goals are for setting a direction. Systems are for making progress. For a very long time, I had one goal that dominated my thinking about YouTube. I wanted to hit 1 million subscribers. It was a big, hairy, audacious goal, a beautiful, round number. It was my Mount Everest, and I was completely obsessed with it. I would check my subscriber count probably 50 times a day. I'd wake up, check it. Before a hospital shift, check it. In the middle of the night, check it. Each new subscriber was a tiny dopamine hit. Each unsubscribe was a tiny tragedy. My happiness was directly tied to the daily fluctuations of this number. On days when I gained a lot of subscribers, I felt like a genius. On days when growth was slow, I felt like a failure. The problem was, hit 1 million subscribers is a terrible goal. Why? Because I had almost no direct control over it. I couldn't force 1 million people to click a button. I was fixated on an outcome that was largely at the mercy of the mysterious YouTube algorithm, audience whims, and pure luck. The goal gave me a destination, but it gave me zero information about how to drive the car. It just created a constant low-grade anxiety that I wasn't there yet. The real breakthrough came when I consciously decided to stop caring about the subscriber count. I decided to stop focusing on the goal and start focusing on the process. I set out to build a machine. I called it the content machine. Its design was simple. It was a system,
a set of repeatable, non-negotiable processes that I had complete control over. The machine's only purpose was to produce one video per week. That's it. My job wasn't to gain subscribers, my job was to operate the machine. The machine looked like this: idea generation. Every Friday morning, I would spend 30 minutes brainstorming and outlining 3 potential video ideas. Scripting. Every Saturday, I would write a full script for the chosen idea. Filming. Every Sunday afternoon from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., my calendar was blocked out for filming. It was a sacred, unbreakable appointment. Editing and uploading. The video would be edited on Monday and Tuesday and scheduled to go live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Suddenly, I had clarity. I knew exactly what I had to do every single day. My focus shifted from the distant, uncontrollable peak of Mount Everest to the very next step right in front of me. Did I film on Sunday? Yes. Then I had a successful week. It didn't matter if I gained 10 subscribers or 10,000. I had executed the system. I had operated the machine. And guess what happened? The machine worked. By focusing on the process, the outcome took care of itself. The relentless consistency of the machine, the weekly uploads, the gradually improving quality, was what actually built the audience. Hitting 1 million subscribers wasn't the achievement of a goal, it was the inevitable byproduct of a well-oiled machine running for a long enough time. This brings us to a provocative but powerful idea, popularized by Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert. Goals are for losers. What he means is that if you have a goal, you exist in a state of continuous pre-success failure. You are perpetually not there yet. This can be incredibly demotivating. A person with a system, however, succeeds every single time they execute their system. A writer whose goal is to write a best-selling novel is a failure every day they aren't on the bestseller list. But a writer whose system is to write 500 words a day is a winner every single day they hit their word count. So how do you stop chasing goals and start building machines in your own life? Here are the key components. 1. Time blocking. Give your tasks a home. A to-do list is a list of wishes. A calendar is a plan of action. Stop writing "go to the gym" on a list. Instead, look at your week and block out a specific time. Gym session, Monday 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. It's now an appointment. It's real. You wouldn't just not show up for a meeting with your boss. Treat the appointments you make with yourself with the same respect. 2. Create a content calendar for your life. Your life has different departments: health, career, relationships, learning. Each department needs its own machine, its own pre-planned schedule of important actions. Your health machine. Sunday is meal prep. Monday, Wednesday, Friday are gym appointments. Tuesday is a long walk. You don't decide each day. The system has already decided for you. Your learning machine. Read 1 chapter of a nonfiction book every night before bed, or spend the first 20 minutes of your lunch break doing a language lesson. Your relationship machine. Thursday night is date night. Sunday morning is for calling your parents. The system ensures the important things don't get squeezed out by the urgent. 3. Design processes with checklists. For any recurring, hard thing, take the thinking out of it. Create a simple checklist. The human brain loves checklists. They reduce the activation energy and prevent you from forgetting steps. Weekly review checklist. 1. Clear email inbox to 0. 2. Review last week's calendar. 3. Define top 3 priorities for next week. 4. Schedule those priorities into the calendar. Publish blog post checklist. 1. Write draft. 2. Find photo. 3. Proofread. 4. Schedule in WordPress. 5. Share on Twitter. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. Just follow the checklist. You are no longer relying on your willpower or memory. You are relying on your system.
Stop hoping for results. Start building machines. A goal is a wish you make upon a star. A system is the spaceship you build to fly there yourself. The system is what makes progress feel automatic, and it's the only reliable way to turn the hard path into your daily, effortless routine.
Chapter 9. Productive Procrastination, the ultimate life hack. You're going to procrastinate anyway. You might as well get something useful done while you're at it. I have a confession to make. Most of this book was written as an act of procrastination. Many of my most successful YouTube videos were scripted to avoid doing something else. My company's most important strategic documents were often drafted while I was putting off a task that felt even more daunting. For years, I felt a deep sense of guilt about this. Here I was, a productivity expert on the internet, and my primary method for getting big things done was avoiding other things. It felt fraudulent. I'd sit down with the intention of, say, finally sorting out my labyrinthine business finances for my accountant, a truly terrifying task. The sheer scale of it, the endless spreadsheets, the threat of finding some horrible mistake I'd made, it was overwhelming. My brain would recoil, the toddler would start screaming, and in a desperate attempt to feel productive without tackling that monster, my eyes would scan the rest of my to-do list. And there it would be, write chapter on systems. Suddenly, writing a 2,000-word chapter seemed not so hard. In fact, compared to the soul-crushing nightmare of sorting my finances, writing a book chapter felt like a delightful, creative escape. It was a breeze, a joy. I would dive into it with incredible focus and energy, churning out pages of content. I felt brilliant. I was crushing it. But I was, in fact, procrastinating. It took me a long time to realize that this wasn't a character flaw. It was a superpower. I had accidentally stumbled upon one of the most effective life hacks for dealing with our natural tendency to delay: structured procrastination. The term was coined by a Stanford philosopher named John Perry, who wrote a brilliant little book about it. The concept is genius because it doesn't fight our nature. It uses it like a judo master. It accepts the fact that we will almost always avoid the most important, intimidating thing at the top of our to-do list. So the trick is to manipulate the to-do list. You deliberately place a colossal, scary, and often vaguely defined task at the very top. This is your decoy task. The decoy task must be something that feels both important and overwhelming. It's the monster under the bed. Here are excellent examples of decoy tasks. Achieve fluency in Mandarin. Plan my 5-year career and life strategy. Digitize all family photos since 1985. Finally, organize the garage. These tasks are perfect decoys because they are almost impossible to complete in one sitting. Your brain looks at achieve fluency in Mandarin and immediately panics. No way! Absolutely not! What else is on the list? And this is where you trick it. Directly below the monster decoy, you list your actual important tasks. These are the things you genuinely need to do, the hard but achievable things. These are your second hardest things. Write the report for the sales team. Go for a 30-minute run. Prepare the slides for Thursday's meeting. Now look at the list through the eyes of your toddler brain. It sees the monster decoy at the top and wants to run away. But then it sees the tasks below, and they suddenly seem like wonderful, productive, and much less scary alternatives. Writing that report is no longer a chore. It's a clever way to avoid the 5-year life plan. Going for that run is no longer an effort. It's a welcome escape from digitizing hundreds of old photos.
You get to harness all that powerful, I don't want to do that energy and channel it into something that is still incredibly productive. You are weaponizing your own procrastination. Here's how to build your own productive procrastination list. Step 1. Identify your monster. What's a big, important, but slightly terrifying project you have? Something you know you should do, but probably won't. Make this item number 1. Be honest. Pick something you are genuinely intimidated by. Step 2. List your real priorities below. Underneath your decoy task, list 2 to 3 important, concrete tasks that you actually want to complete in the next day or so. These should be things that would normally feel hard, but now will feel like a relief in comparison to the monster. Write the report for the sales team. Go for a 30-minute run. Prepare the slides for Thursday's meeting. Now, look at the list through the eyes of your toddler brain. It sees the monster decoy at the top and wants to run away. But then it sees the tasks below, and they suddenly seem like wonderful, productive, and much less scary alternatives. Writing that report is no longer a chore. It's a clever way to avoid the 5-year life plan. Going for that run is no longer an effort. It's a welcome escape from digitizing hundreds of old photos. You get to harness all that powerful, I don't want to do that energy and channel it into something that is still incredibly productive. You are weaponizing your own procrastination.
Chapter 10. The Slow Burn. Why Consistency Beats Intensity. You can't sprint a marathon. The secret to an easy life isn't intensity. It's ridiculously boring consistency. When I was about 12 years old, my dad decided my brother and I needed to learn how to touch type properly. At the time, I was a master of what I'll call the 2-finger eagle strike method. I'd hunt for a key with my 2 index fingers, my eyes darting between the screen and the keyboard, and then strike. It was chaotic, but I was pretty fast at it. I could get my homework done. Then came the new rule. We had to use a typing tutor program for 30 minutes every single day. We had to place our fingers on the home row, ASDF, JKL, semicolon, a position that felt completely alien and unnatural. We were forbidden from looking at the keyboard. The first few weeks were pure agony. It was painfully, excruciatingly slow. My hard-won eagle strike speed plummeted to a glacial crawl as I painstakingly tried to remember where the P key was without looking. Every sentence was a struggle. My brain ached. It felt like a massive step backwards. For a short time, the hard new method was making my life significantly harder. It would have been so much easier to just go back to my old, inefficient way. But we stuck with it. 30 minutes, every day. It was a slow burn. And then, after a few months, something magical happened. I can't pinpoint the exact day, but I remember sitting down to write an essay, and my fingers just went. The thoughts flowed from my brain, through my arms, and appeared on the screen as if by telepathy. I wasn't thinking about where the keys were anymore. The hard work had been consolidated. The process had become automatic, effortless. Today, my ability to type quickly is probably the single most valuable physical skill I possess. It has saved me thousands of hours. It has allowed me to write books, script videos, and build businesses with a speed and fluency that would have been unimaginable to my 12-year-old self. The immense, lifelong, easy was purchased with a few months of upfront, consistent, hard. This is the perfect metaphor for the most powerful force in the universe of self-improvement, the compound interest of effort. We all understand compound interest when it comes to money. You invest a little bit, it earns interest, and then your interest starts earning its own interest. Over a long period, a small, consistent investment can explode into a fortune.
What we often fail to appreciate is that this exact same principle applies to our skills, our health, our knowledge, and our relationships. Small, consistent deposits of effort compounded over time lead to exponential, life-altering results. We don't see it because we are obsessed with intensity. We live in a culture that celebrates the overnight success, the viral hit, the crash diet, the heroic all-nighter. We love the dramatic spike. Let's visualize this. Imagine two graphs plotting progress over 5 years. Graph A is the sprinter. This person operates in bursts of high intensity. In January, they go on a brutal diet and hit the gym twice a day for 3 weeks. Their progress line shoots straight up, but it's unsustainable. By February, they're burnt out and fall back into old habits. Their progress line crashes back down to where it started. They repeat this cycle with different projects. A manic week of studying, a frantic burst of work on a business idea, leading to a graph that looks like a volatile stock market report, all spikes and crashes with very little upward trend. Graph B is the slow burner. This person embodies boring consistency. They make a small, almost unnoticeable effort every day. They walk for 30 minutes. They read 10 pages of a book. They save 50 pounds a month. They write 1 paragraph. Their progress line is a gentle, almost flat upward slope. For the first year, it's not impressive at all. The sprinter's dramatic spikes make the slow burner look lazy. But wait, look at the graphs in year 3. The compounding is starting to kick in. The slow burner's skills are connecting. Their savings are earning meaningful interest. Their health is robust. Their progress line begins to curve upwards. By year 5, it's not a curve anymore, it's a rocket ship. It has soared past the sprinter's frantic, chaotic spikes and is now in a completely different stratosphere. This isn't just a theory. It's the story of every meaningful success I've ever had. My YouTube channel didn't grow because of one viral video. It grew because the content machine made a small, consistent deposit of one video every single week for years. Each video was a tiny improvement on the last. The library of content grew, the audience compounded, and the skills compounded with it. My health isn't based on occasional intense workouts. It's based on the boring consistency of daily walks, trying to sleep enough, and generally eating well. No drama, just compounding good choices. My financial freedom didn't come from a single lucky break. It came from the unglamorous, automatic system of saving and investing a portion of my income every single month, year after year. The world wants to sell you intensity. It's sexy. It's exciting. It makes for a great montage. But the secret to an easy life, a life where your abilities, your health, and your wealth seem to grow automatically, is to fall in love with the slow burn. It's about choosing the ridiculously boring path of consistency and trusting in the quiet, unstoppable magic of compound effort. Forget the sprint. Embrace the slow, daily work. Because that's how you build a life that eventually feels truly effortless.
Chapter 11. The New Normal, When Hard Becomes Easy. The goal is to make your current hard, your future easy. If you could show 18-year-old me a video of my life today, he would not believe it. He would probably laugh, then get very, very nervous. 18-year-old Ali was a shy, awkward medical student, terrified of 2 things above all others: public speaking and getting things wrong. The idea of standing on a stage and speaking to a room full of people was my literal nightmare. My hands would get clammy just thinking about having to present a patient case to a single consultant and a few other students. The idea of running a business? That was for other people. Business was a mysterious world of finance, management, and risk, all things that seemed impossibly complex and stressful. I was on a clear path: become a doctor. It was hard, but it was safe. And writing a book? Don't make me laugh.
I was a science nerd who wrote functional, clunky essays. The thought of writing something people might actually read for pleasure was so far outside my perceived skill set that it wasn't even on the map. Those things, public speaking, entrepreneurship, and writing, weren't just hard. They were, in my mind, impossible. They were for other people. Fast forward to today. This morning, I had a 2-hour meeting with my team to review our company's quarterly finances and plan our next marketing strategy. It wasn't scary. It was just Tuesday. Later, I recorded a podcast, speaking into a microphone alone in a room, knowing that tens of thousands of people will listen. It wasn't terrifying. It was my job. And right now, I am writing this chapter. It's not an agonizing struggle. It's an enjoyable and fulfilling process. Next month, I'm giving a keynote speech at a conference. I'm nervous, yes, but it's the buzz of excitement, not the dread of impending doom. So what happened? Did I get a personality transplant? Did I wake up one day suddenly blessed with confidence and a host of new skills? Absolutely not. What happened was a slow, gradual, almost imperceptible shift in my baseline for what feels hard. The things that once seemed like unclimbable mountains are now my normal everyday landscape. This is the ultimate payoff for everything we've talked about in this book. It's the destination you arrive at after consistently choosing the path of most resistance. Think of it like going to the gym. The first time you try to squat with a 20-kilogram barbell, it feels crushingly heavy. It's awkward, your legs wobble. You can't imagine ever lifting more. You do it anyway. You follow your system, showing up even when you don't feel like it. You add a tiny amount of weight each week, a small, consistent deposit of effort. A year later, you walk into the gym and warm up with that same 20-kilogram barbell. It feels like nothing. It's light. Your body moves through the motion with practiced ease. Is the barbell objectively lighter? No, it's still 20 kilograms. What has changed is you. Your muscles have adapted. Your nervous system has learned the pattern. Your baseline for heavy has been completely recalibrated. The old hard has become the new easy. This is exactly what happens with any skill. Public speaking, my first YouTube videos were my 2-kilogram dumbbells. They were awkward and shaky, but by casting hundreds of votes for my identity as a YouTuber and running the content machine week after week, I slowly increased the weight. Each video was a rep. Speaking to 100 subscribers was hard, until it wasn't. Then speaking to 1,000 was hard, until it wasn't. The stage is just a heavier weight, but my capacity for lifting it has been built through years of consistent, incremental training. Running a business, it started with the 2-minute rule. Just register the domain name. Just write one paragraph of the business plan. It grew through the system of a weekly review, making small decisions and learning from mistakes, our data. What once seemed like an incomprehensible monster became a series of small, manageable problems to be solved. Writing this book, the identity shift to writer came first. Then came the system. Write for 1 hour every morning. Some days the words flowed, some days it was a grind. But the system ensured I showed up. The hard work of the first few chapters slowly built the momentum that made these latter chapters feel like they were writing themselves. This is the real easy life. It's not a life free of challenges. It's a life where your capacity for handling challenges has grown so much that the things that used to derail you are now just part of your day. It's a state of being where your skills are so deeply ingrained, they become automatic, freeing up your mental energy to focus on bigger, more interesting problems. You're not bogged down by the how. You're free to think about the what and the why. You operate in a state of flow because you put in the reps. The life you want is not on the other side of a lottery win or a sudden stroke of luck. It's on the other side of your current definition of hard. By embracing the grind, building the systems, and trusting in the slow burn of consistency, you don't just achieve your goals. You become a new person, a person for whom the impossible becomes the routine.
Conclusion: your life is a choice. And so, we arrive at the end. But really, it's the beginning.
When we started this journey together, we were standing at a fork in the road. To one side was the path of immediate ease, the well-lit, comfortable, slippery slope that leads, inevitably, to a life of quiet regret and unfulfilled potential. To the other was the path of most resistance, the steep, rocky, uphill climb that looked so intimidating at the outset. My goal in this book was to give you a map and a toolkit for that harder path, to show you that it's not about grit or willpower or becoming a soulless productivity machine. It's about being smarter. It's about being a strategist in your own life. We've learned how to parent the toddler in our brain instead of trying to fight it. We've learned to put on our scientist's lab coat and see failure not as a verdict, but as valuable data. We've seen how to ditch our fragile reliance on motivation and build robust systems that make progress the default setting. We've discovered the power of starting with the 2-minute rule, casting votes for the identity we want to build, and even using our own procrastination as a secret weapon. These aren't just tricks. They are the principles of building a life that, over time, becomes genuinely, fundamentally easier. Not easier in the sense of being lazy or free from challenge. Easier in the sense of being effortless. It's the ease of the skilled musician whose fingers dance across the keys without conscious thought. It's the ease of the healthy person who has the energy to play with their kids without getting out of breath. It's the ease of the financially secure individual who can weather an unexpected expense without panic. This is the freedom you're buying with your upfront investment of effort. It's not about optimizing every second of your day to squeeze out more productivity. It's about doing the right hard things now so that you can free up your future, free up your time, your money, and your precious mental energy for the things that truly matter. It's about having the space to be present, to be creative, to be spontaneous, to just be. This book is not a command. It's an invitation. An invitation to stop being a passive passenger in your own life and to start being its architect. You have the blueprints. You have the tools. You now know that the shape of your tomorrow is determined by the small choices you make today. Which brings us to one final, simple question. Not about next year or next month or even next week. Just about right now. What hard thing will you choose to do today to make your life easier tomorrow?
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening and for spending this time with me. I really hope the ideas in this book resonated with you as much as they did with me. The concept of choosing your hard and building systems instead of just chasing goals is a true game changer. Now, I would love to hear from you. This is where the conversation really begins, and your participation is what makes this community so special. What did you think about this book? Did a specific chapter or idea, like the Toddler Brain or productive procrastination, hit home for you? Please share your biggest takeaway in the comments below. I'll be reading and responding to as many as I can. And if you found this valuable, please take a second to like this video and, most importantly, subscribe to the Johirica channel if you haven't already. It helps so much and ensures you won't miss out on what's next. Finally, I have a question for you. What audiobook would you like me to upload next? Your suggestions guide the content I create, so let me know what books you believe would benefit our community. Thank you again for being here. Let's continue the discussion in the comments. Until next time, let's all go out there and do the hard things that matter.